What's the deal with Japan always getting 12-year 101 proof bourbons? They get the Wild Turkey 101 12-year, the Evan Williams 12-year 101 proof. And today we're going to determine, is this Evan Williams bottle and bond anywhere near as good as this 12-year 101 proof? Plus, a little bonus comparison. If you want one of these Japan-only releases, which one should you get? Welcome back to another episode of Neat Bourbon. My name's Tanner, and today we got another awesome bottle review for you guys. We're going to be doing the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. I know, fan favorite for most. And we also have a sample here of the 12-year 101 proof. Now, the 12-year bottle is usually is a Japan-only release, very similar to the Wild Turkey 101 12-year. So both of those Japan-only releases. But the distillery will release this 12-year at their gift shop for around that $150 mark. So this bottle and bond found everywhere for now $20 and 4 years old at least. And then for 12 years, so 3 times the age, it's going to run you about $150. So is this worth $150? Is it worth going to the distillery for the hopes of an opportunity to potentially be able to buy one of these? I don't know. Never had the 12-year 101. It's been a long time since I've had the regular bottle and bond. And then also, we're going to do a little comparison with the Wild Turkey 12-year 101 because this is in that $150 price point. So if you're really interested in one of those 12-year 101 proof bottles that are really difficult to find, which one should you get? By the way, so the whole reason for this review today is a subscriber in one of my most recent videos was asking me down in the comments if I had ever had this bottle before, and I haven't, and so I do have a sample. So I told him I'd get a review out here for you guys. Figured it'd be good to get a comparison with the bottle and bond as well as that Wild Turkey 101 12-year. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and get into the nose on this. Okay, so this is the bottle and bond 100 proof. The mash bill on this comes in at 78% corn, 12% malted barley, 10% rye. Same thing for the 12-year. So same thing, just aged for 12 years. Okay, so you're getting a lot of like, butterscotchy caramel on that. Well, actually a decent amount of vanilla as well. I'm just getting like a hint of like a candied nut on there as well. It's like that candied nut. I can't really tell if there's like any fruit on that or not. But relatively light nose for 100 proof, but not bad. All the notes I'm getting on that are pretty solid. It's just not like exploding out of the glass or anything like that. Like not picking up any of the yolk. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to the palate. Cheers. Wow. Yeah, so right away getting like hints of that butterscotch on the palate, but it's a strong, like vanilla honey forward profile there. Actually like a faint little bit of like a stewed berry there, like not too much. Yeah, that like vanilla butterscotchiness. Man, I gotta say, the palate definitely is a lot more explosive in terms of like a robust, sweet forward profile than I was getting off on the nose. All of those notes though that I was getting on the nose like really did transfer over to the palate well. The one thing that's kind of sticking out that I couldn't really pick up on the nose would be like that, like the hints there of the berries. There is like a decent amount of like that cinnamon barrel spice on this as well. Yeah, it's really coming through with a really strong palate. Yeah. So again, like it's that like vanilla, like hints of butterscotch, hint of like a candied nut there, and like that candied nut, a little bit of that like stewed berryness is coming in onto the profile as well. It is very faint on like that berry profile, but does have a decent amount of like that cinnamon barrel spice, kind of profile that I can get from time to time. So overall, I think that is, a great profile, a great bottle. I mean, for $20, you can find it everywhere. I know everyone says it. This is one of the best values you can get in bourbon. And it's been a while since I've had this bottle, and it does drink way above that $20 price point. Anyways, let's go ahead and get over to the 12-year. Wow. Man, that is very similar in terms of, the notes that I was getting on the Bottle and Bond. They're all kind of transferring over. But the main, although there's only one proof point difference here, the nose is like exploding out of the glass, whereas this one was like, a little more faint. Definitely picking up some of that sweet oak there on the profile. And like that butterscotchness is like a thick, rich, like dense, dark, brown, sugary butterscotch there. Man, almost like it's pretty sweet too, like a confectionery sugar, almost like that like pink bubblegum note. Like that's pretty. I just started getting that note like the other week, so I'm pretty excited to add that one to the repertoire. Yeah, anyways, so yeah, definitely this nose is incredibly elevated over the regular Bottle and Bond. There are a lot of similarities, but the 12-year, as you would expect, a lot deeper, richer, and you are picking up a lot of those oak notes. Anyways, on to the palate. Cheers. Yeah, it's really good. So like that pink bubblegum note there, like really transferred over to the palate. It's like that confectionery sugar sweetness, like pink bubblegum note. They're definitely getting like a little bit of that pink bubblegum. You are picking up that oak. It does kind of like punch you into the tongue. It's not as like rich of an oak, but like I am picking up a little bit of that oak, or I guess a good amount. It is like a little more astringent there. It's a scotch drying there. Yeah, I mean the oak is really good. The scotch bitter as well, so it's leaning more on the astringent side there for oak. It is really good, very velvety, very mouth coating there on the palate. Getting a lot of like that those toffee notes that I was getting, like that butterscotch is more like toffee on the palate, and those hints of stewed berries like are there as well. Slightly more pronounced, but still taking the back seat to all those other notes. Yeah, I mean, that was just like powdered sugar, sweet oak. Yeah, like that vanilla toffee. There is a lot of vanilla there, but like that vanilla toffee. I really a decently complex, palate there. I think these are both, I think the palates in terms of like robustness, this one ekes it out a little bit, but in terms of like the richness and the depth of flavor, although they both are like have like strong flavor pops, like the depth in terms of like the richness of the notes that I'm picking up, you can definitely tell that the 12-year is older, obviously, than it is, but it really does shine through on the palate. Not saying that this Bottle and Bond comes across young. This just comes across as a freaking solid bottle, but the 12-year definitely comes across elevated. All those notes are a little bit deeper, a little bit richer, a little bit darker. Those stewed berries are amped up like a scotch there on the finish. There you are picking up a lot of that oak, but it is a little bit drying and it is a scotch bitter. It's not bad though, but just want to make sure that does come across. Overall, I think that this is a fantastic pour. $150 though. I don't know. I mean, I feel like so many of the bottles are in that like $100 to $150 dollar range. I mean, it's a limited release, or distillery only release. You got to go to Japan if you want to find this for. I think this retails for like in that like $30, $40 range over in Japan. So like, you pick this up for $30, $40. This might be the new best value in bourbon. I don't know, but you had $150. You're probably kind of reaching that point of like, yeah, it'd be cool to have. Yeah, it'd be rare on the shelf. Yeah, it'd have a really nice story. yeah, it'd be an interesting talking piece. So like if those are things that like really interest you to like have something like really unique, yeah, in that like $150 price point, like I think, you know, you might be all right, you know, spending that on this. But I mean, it is really good. It's just, you know, it's a $30 bottle over in Japan. You know, I guess kind of similar to the Wild Turkey 12 year. But speaking of that Wild Turkey 12 year, let's see. Because if you're looking at one of these releases and that $150 is in your wheelhouse and you can only have one, which one should you have? So give this a little bit of time to air. Now I do want to say the mash bill on this 12-year Wild Turkey, 75% corn, 13% rye, 12% malted barley. Over here with the Evan Williams, it was 78% corn, 12% malted barley, and then 10% rye. So pretty similar there. The Wild Turkey just has a skosh bit more rye. That's probably the main difference there. Yeah. Yeah, so like, man, that Wild Turkey 12 year. So the Evan Williams 12 year is a lot more like the vanilla butterscotch, and the oak that you're picking up there on the nose does smell a little bit more like charry, which is I came across there on the palate, you know, being a little bit bitter, like a scotch bitter. Again, not bad, but just it was a little bit bitter and drying. Like, man, yeah. So this Wild Turkey 12 year is just really, really dense there on the nose. Like that brown sugar, you know, little like funkiness, that like, you know, wet grass dewy note that you can kind of get. And like, you know, the mixed berries are amped up a lot more on the nose, where the sweetness on the Evan Williams 12 year was coming from like that vanilla, you know, butterscotchy profile. Yeah. And I mean, the oak just smells like it's going to be like a little bit like sweeter on the palate here, just from the nose. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into the palate. Cheers. Yeah, man, that's sweet. Yeah, so you're getting that oak is present there on the palate, which is definitely something that like I'm looking for in the 12 year. It's not quite as robust as like what I was remembering it to be, but like the brown sugary caramel notes on this, there's not nearly as much barrel spice on the Wild Turkey as I was getting on the Evan Williams. So like that cinnamon spice, barrel spice is way more prominent on the Evan Williams than it is on the Wild Turkey. The Wild Turkey is a little bit more like velvety smooth there on the palate. Feels a little bit more well-rounded, probably because you don't have that barrel spice there, kind of like amping things up. The stewed berry notes are way more prominent, you know, on the Wild Turkey 12 year than, you know, the hints of them that I was getting on the Evan Williams. Man, so these are still like, I mean, after trying them side by side, I think it's going to come down to a little bit of like personal preference here. Like for me, I personally think that I would be buying, if I only had to choose one, I would probably be choosing the Wild Turkey 12 year over this Evan Williams 12 year, but that's only if I could have one and they were both at $150. Now that said, I would totally own both of these at $150. I do like them both. I just think that this 12 year, you know, delivers a little bit more like that sweeter berry forward profile, and I think the oak is a little bit, you know, richer, and it's not quite as bitter and drying as I was getting on the Evan Williams. Now, that said, that is not a knock to the Evan Williams. The Evan Williams is still a spectacular bottle and a spectacular pour. It is very robust on the nose, and all the notes really are in the nose really transferred over to the palate, you know, but you're getting a lot more like vanilla, you know, or that vanilla toffee sweetness, where this one's a little bit more like berry forward, sweet, rich oak, you know, dominant profile, which is, you know, something that I really do enjoy. But I mean, that said, this Evan Williams 12 year isn't a slouch. Honestly, if you have the opportunity to buy either of these bottles, you know, I think you're going to be, you know, pretty happy with the juice inside the bottle. Again, $150 isn't anything to sneeze at. But if you're looking for something like really unique to have in your bar, 12 years age stated, you're not as big into those ultra high cask strength offerings, I think these are fantastic options if that's something that you're looking for. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you have, would you please leave me a comment down below? Have you tried this Evan Williams 12-year? What do you think? Have you ever compared it to the Wild Turkey 12-year? Like, have any of y'all ever found this Evan Williams 12-year at the distillery? I'll be going out there next month. I do have a tour booked, so fingers crossed I can come home with one of these bottles, because that would be a great cherry on top. Anyways, guys, this is Neat Bourbon. My name's Tanner, and pop the bottles and share the pours, and we'll see you in the next one.